Now, a retail flip is very similar to a wholesale deal, except the difference, and a lot of people would call a retail flip wholesaling. We call it a retail flip because we're dealing with pretty houses. So that's the same thing. And a retail flip is sort of like an option deal. So when you hear people talking about, I'm doing option deals, or I got an option on a house, it's the same thing with a retail flip. You get a contract to buy a pretty house from somebody at a discounted price, of course. You then find somebody else who wants to buy that house. And in this case, it's usually a homeowner. It's usually somebody that's going to move into the house. Just like the wholesale deal where I tried to make sure there was enough money left over when my wholesaler or my rehabber bought it from me, I want to make sure I get the house at a good enough price. I'm not going to sell it right at retail because especially the way the market is now, houses are going cheap. So I get a contract on it so I know I can make some money. But I want to leave some room in there so I can still sell it to the homeowner who's going to move in and let him make some, not make money, but have a good deal on the house too. I just did one of these. Well, my most recent one we did on a house, and I didn't see this house personally. One of my ground partners actually did the deal for me. One of the guys that worked for me or with me. But I think that we got a contract to buy it at like $140,000, and we found someone else to buy it at $159,000. And they came in, and again, you got to learn how to do these. Don't just rush in. Get educated. But he bought the house from them for $159,000, and we walked away closing with a check for $19,000. I did another one last year, a retail flip. Well, not last year. I guess it is last year now, but I paid $240 for the property. No, $234. I paid $234 for the property, and I got that check here too. I think I paid $234 for the property, and they. I ended up getting two checks at this one. They paid $288, $278, whatever it was. But I ended up with two checks, one for $36,000 and one for $8,000. I don't know how well you can see those. You probably can't see. You can't see them, can you? But anyways, I made $44,000 for that, and all I had to do was find somebody willing to sell a house at a discount, find somebody else to take it, and I make the difference. That's a retail flip. Retail flip, again, there's no risk, no money. The only money I put into it was my marketing money. I did have to put money in to find the house and then to find the buyer, but there's no risk at all. And those are all flips. You flip a house. A bird dog flips a house to an investor. A wholesaler flips a house from the seller to the buyer, and so does a retail flip. That's why we call it a retail flip. Those are short-term, those are fast money deals. Then there's medium-term type of deals. One is called a sub-2 or a subject-to deal. That's when you buy a property subject to the mortgage. And when you're dealing with sub-2s, there's a little bit more risk. Basically, you find someone that's willing to sell a house at a discount. We don't buy them unless we can get them with no money down, and it's not hard to do, especially in this market. They sell me the house subject to their mortgage. So I buy their house. It's now in my name. I own the house. It's almost like they give it to me. They leave their mortgage on it, so I'm not going out and getting a mortgage. So now I own the house, but it's not free and clear. The seller's mortgage, the people that have lived there all these years, his mortgage is still on the house, and that's why we call it sub-2. I buy the house subject to his mortgage. So I buy this house. Now I've got a house, and you can get houses sub-2 with lots of equity, but remember this, I've got to make that mortgage payment, and that's where the risk comes in. Okay? So I buy the house subject to the mortgage. I now find a tenant that wants to move in, and I do a rent-to-own with this property. They rent it from me with an option to buy. And the nice thing about a sub-2 deal is I make money 3 times. When they first want to move in, it's just not like a regular tenant. I don't just tell them, give me first month's security deposit and a month's rent. I tell them, give me an option fee up front. That option fee gets them the right to buy it from me at some time down the road. My option fees usually run from $4,000 to $10,000. Sometimes you get a little more, but usually they're $6,000, $8,000, $10,000. So what happens is they come in, they give me that option fee up front, and I get that $4,000, $8,000, whatever. That goes in the pocket. So that's the nice money up front. And then let's say that their payments are $1,200. I'll charge the tenant $1,400. So I make a couple $100 a month from the tenant through this whole time. And then at the end is when I make the big money. Let's say, for instance, they owed $170,000 on the house. Well, if the house is only worth 170, I'm not going to buy it subject to. I need some equity in the deal. So if I can get a house that's worth 200 for 170 and they're willing to sell it to me this way, I'll take it. So the house is worth 200. I owe 170. The new tenants come in, rent it from me, and they have an option to buy. So I'm going to work with them over a period of time to get their credit up to a point so they can buy it from me. And they're going to buy it from me at the full price. So they move in now. They pay me rent, which makes the other guy's payments. I'm going to make $30,000 at the end of the deal. So I make a few thousand up front. Remember, the loan is 170. They're paying 200. Eventually, a year or two down the road, when they get their mortgage, I'm going to make that $30,000 difference. But remember, there's some risk involved when you take houses sub 2, because if those guys don't make the payments, you got to make it, or I got to make it, or whoever's liable in this case has to make it. And in this business, don't hurt the rest of us. If you tell somebody you're going to make their payments, make their payments. Please, keep the industry looking good. Another type of deal is a buy and hold. And this is what a typical investor does, not a creative investor, which is what we consider ourselves. A buy and hold is when somebody buys the property long term and they hold on to it over a period of time. This is your typical rental property where somebody buys a house, they put renters in it, and maybe 10 years, 15 years from now, you'll sell the house. That could be huge, huge money if A, you've got the patience to deal with the tenants, and B, you're looking for long-term investments. Real estate is one of the best investments there are. I know the market's weird right now. They went down a little bit. But I can guarantee you buy a house now, 10, 15 years from now, you have made money. Now, I don't suggest getting your own mortgage. I suggest buying sub 2 or using some creative methods. I never like to put mortgages in my own name. As a matter of fact, as long as I've been in this business and the dozens of houses I've done business with, I've flipped, I've bought, I've sold, with the exception of the one I live in, I've only had 2 mortgages that were ever in my name. So even my buy and holds that I'm planning on holding on to for a long time, the mortgages aren't in my name. So, but that's buy and holds. You can become filthy, stinking rich with any of these, but you can become filthy, stinking rich with buy and holds because you buy 20 houses. And this is somebody who maybe doesn't want to quit their job. They don't want to do this full time. They love their job. Buy one house every 6 months. At the end of 20 years, you own 40 houses, and a lot of them are almost paid for. You start selling those houses when it comes retirement time, and you're set. You've got a nice little nest egg. So I will be making videos. I will have segments, episodes that explain each of these in detail, that teach you more how to bird dog, how to wholesale, give you the techniques, how to find the buyers, how to find the sellers. But that's not what today was all about. Today, this Newbie Tuesday, we are here to tell you about the different choices. Like I said at the beginning, pick one, get good at it, then decide to either stay with it or move on to others. But I do suggest pick a one to start with. A lot of deals are combinations of the both, but we'll get into that as we get more advanced here. Thanks for joining us. I highly suggest coming back again and watching videos in the future. If you have any questions about any of this, fill out the form down underneath. If I can get, I'll try to get back to you. I can't promise I get over 100 emails a day, but I'll try my dangest to answer you, or shoot me an email on the Contact Me page. Thanks for watching. This is Nick. Welcome to the machine. Signing out.